comment on this, what you think.
Sure.
So the sheep, Yahusha came and dealt with the lost sheep of Israel, right? So those that were there when he was there had a choice.
Yeah.
Come in or stay out.
Mm.
Come into his reign or not.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all the people that were there, they all over Israel, they heard the message, saw the miracles and the power, or heard about it, and heard about the way, right? So actually he said, I've come for the lost sheep of Israel. The ones that came in are the ones he chose. He's happy, remember, in the chosen, he's walking around choosing who he wants.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't anything to do with what normal people would think, it was just the people. You know?
Yeah.
And as you can see, they didn't know before they got the Spirit. They were terrified, weren't they?
Yeah.
They didn't know. There's only one guy that's done a bit of preaching, you know?
Yeah.
But he trusted in who he chose, what happened.
Yeah.
So he dealt with the lost sheep of Israel. He got out of them, the ones that wanted him. And they had to go through the same process we go through. No.
Yeah.
Right. So then he left, went up to Shemaim.
Yep.
He left the disciples to find the Spirit.
Yep.
Have supernatural experiences. And then it was all, they were all, after a while, they were all killed, murdered.
Yep.
Jews did that,
Yeah.
right? So they did that, and then he went up to Shemaim and sent down a whole lot of, he booted Satan out at that time, and he sent down a whole lot of stuff through visions to John. And John wrote it all out. And as we, you know how we're reading it through, and you watch the shows on television, they always show you back to the past
That's
and
right.
then in the future,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then the here and now, while he's there giving this message across from Shemaim
Yeah.
through prophecy to John, through the Spirit.
Yeah.
Right? Now we've got all that, and we're finding the goodies in there
Yeah.
through the
Abstract.
abstract. We're seeing other things, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, as you've been watching The Chosen, you can see many interesting things that are very similar that's going on with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he did all that, he's handled it, he got the Jews that he wanted out of the lost sheep of Israel, set up his disciples, they went out in the ministry. His ministry was just for the lost tribe of Israel. And he gave Paul the job to give the message to the Gentiles. But they still were talking to the Jews in their synagogues as they went around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there again we have the choices of those that did and those that didn't.
Yeah.
We don't know that, but it's been done, it's over and done with. All the apostles were killed, and then we have the meeting, the ministry just dies out. You don't hear anything anymore.
Rome took over.
Do you know? Yeah. Well, that was, what, about 300 years? There was some book we read there, one of the Jewish leaders, or one of the Nazarims that were or believers that were sitting in the Council of Nicaea got up and ran. They just fled after they heard what Constantine's plan was.
Yeah.
Kill anybody that won't do what they say. So, you remember where that was?
No, but I vaguely remember. Sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were horrified, terrified,
Yeah.
and left.
That's fossilised, I think.
Yeah. And then everything went quiet, died.
Yeah.
Right? You with me?
Yeah.
You think all that's true?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's all dead.
Yep.
There's no one talking about Yahusha. They even lost his name.
Yep.
They weren't allowed to speak Yahuwah or Yahusha's name.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise they'd be killed.
Yeah.
Unless they renounced
Yeah.
what they were doing. So it stopped. It was dead.
Mm.
So Yahusha came down, told the Jews what they were doing wrong, and that they were out of order, out of Torah. They were looking at it the wrong way, and went up to heaven, sent all that other stuff down in the Revelation to John, which is a record. All we have is a record
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
There's no more prophecies coming through from heaven.
No.
That's interesting.
That's all we,
The book's finished.
book's finished, dealt with, done.
Yep.
Think on that, let that flow through you. Why has Yahusha done it that way? And then you look at us, what we're experiencing. We've never experienced this before,
No.
and neither has, there's no one that we know that's experiencing this,
No. Not at all.
but we are.
Mm.
And when we look at the records and we read,
It's the same.
Yeah.
Very similar.
so that must be for all that account, must be for believers in the last day.
Yeah.
But they have to enter into the super,
Supernatural.
Natural.
because the whole experience, the calling,
Mm.
the immersion, the change in the heart, and the spirit, incorruptible seed planted. It's all a plan, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can see when you read about the seed, what Paul was preaching
Mm.
about the flesh.
Yeah.
Why has he done it? And he was only 3.5 years developing his ministry, and look what has happened since then. Why did he do it that way? Why do you guys think that we're just left to find this out by ourselves? Find out what? And this has happened to me since the sheep. I just got this tonight, so I wanted to share it with you. Go on, what were you going to say, Therese?
I think he's kept it hidden for that long because of the control that the world had over them. And there are still a lot of people to this day in the world who are under the control of Catholic Church, Christians, and so forth.
So how
Religion.
much trouble would we cause if we spoke out? You heard about
The Premier
Herite?
Premier of New South Wales.
Yeah, they found out he wore a Nazi uniform to his 21st birthday party. Now he's 40 something. 20 years ago.
Mm.
So he's being dragged over the coals. He's going to lose his position. All the Jews are against what he did, and that it's disgusting, and his whole reputation is being ruined, and he might lose his position. And that's all over television, on every news channel is talking about it.
Okay.
What the Jews feel about it, and everyone's yay for the Jews and wants to get rid of Perrottet. What do you think the Jews are doing?
Trying to control
How much power have they got
Big
a
power.
lot.
to ruin a man's reputation like that?
Yeah.
Same as what they did to
Yeah,
Yahusha.
no forgiveness there.
And just lied.
Why do you think Yahusha's just done it, hidden it in the abstract, and it's just there?
Because you got to be hungry. You got to be
Because of-
seeking.
Yeah, you look at it because of the way the Jews were when he was alive. Because of the way they were when he was alive, he could see that. So his plan was to hide it so that they couldn't get it,
Yeah,
so that they could not enter the reign.
yeah.
I think it's been hidden over the ages, and I think if people did receive and did find Yahusha through the ages, and happened what happened to the apostles,
The name has been forgotten,
yeah,
it's been hidden. Lou's just discovered his name,
yeah,
and Lou was used to bring his name to us. Why to us? His name's out there for lots of people, but they're not having the experience we are.
It's like a treasure map. It's like a big adventure story. You need all these parts to come. You know those shows you see. You need all these parts to come together. You need the name. You need the this. You need the that. You've got the special text, but the special text doesn't work unless you've got the secret decoder inside you. And then once you've even got that, it's not the text you thought it was. It's supernatural. You've got to see between the lines, and he talks to you, and it's a personal experience. He's taking, okay, you think you want me? Great. You think you're doing the scriptures? Great. Here, come over here. A small group will come over here. You got my name. That's great. There's much more. A little smaller group breaks off, a smaller group, and there might only be a handful left by the end of it, but they're the ones who made it to the hidden treasure. He's bringing a special group out of the ones that'll just keep going.
What do you think would be our end if people find out? Because anyone that comes into our meeting has to engraft, don't they?
Yep.
They have to be supernaturally called and know it.
Yeah.
From his experiences of his spirit and the change in our spirit.
Well, I know that
New heart.
if we, it looks like, I mean, it is, the message is for the end times, the Gospels and all that is for people in the end times, the ones that want to be real, get his name, go all the way supernaturally, and when they speak out, they're going to cause a lot of trouble, a lot of drama, and you see what's going to happen if we speak out, and if we have that experience that the apostles had, well, we'll all be killed and we'll be thrown into jail, and people, I know the hate that even we've just experienced from our families, that incredible hatred, and that you've heard it and felt it, and you know that hatred against Yahusha. So that hatred's going to manifest more.
Mm.
And total, you know, when you go to talk to someone or you're going to say something, you shake and shudder, and you know, you feel that the oppression of the evil come against you. So I think it's for the end time. Yahushua's doing it for his people that are real.
So I want you to look at, you know, the future from the Revelation. I want you to look at the now. Anyone that comes in has to be called. They have to have the supernatural operation.
Yeah.
They have to, if there's going to be gifts or ministries evolve, they have to be, it has to be through the supernatural. There's no seminary school to learn the gifts. There's no seminary school to learn the word.
No.
Because you can't be taught the abstract in a seminary school, because why?
It's personal
It's
to
not
you.
supernatural. It's not from Yahusha.
That's it. That's the answer. It's not Yahusha. It's not his spirit.
Mm.
Different
Religious.
spirit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you can see by the apostles on Chosen,
Mm.
they were just everyday people who were called into this,
Yeah.
and it was just from the heart
Mm.
how they functioned and
Yep.
operated.
Mm.
Yeah, well, they felt drawn to him,
Yeah, well,
which is
you can
exactly
see the
what
love,
we've all
can't you? See how they
exactly what we've all felt.
Yeah.
Drawn.
felt. Mm.
So you can feel that.
So it has to be that way.
Yeah.
Mm.
It can't be from a seminary school,
No.
from a religious training.
No.
What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, it's amazing. If at this stage the power among us could easily be mistaken for coincidence. I mean, you got people out there telling me, "What about that place we went to? Oh, I've seen someone raised from the dead." You know, people can convince themselves of anything, and we would just be accused of convincing ourselves that this is real. But as time goes on and the power increases, you know, you could say, "Oh, we saw demons leave the room." Well, that's great. You can convince yourself of anything. That we're no threat to society at this point. We're just another weird group. But as it goes on, if we saw people get healed or through us or things like that, if Yahusha manifested things that became a real threat to those around, like Paul has seen, the local businesses were up in arms because he's telling them to put their idols away. And you know, if we affected society like that, or if Yahusha did, well, yeah, we'd be in big trouble. So,
Well, what do you think about his plan that's pushing us towards something like that? What do you think about that? Do you think that's a requirement? I like the way Therese says, pick up your torch, your stake,
yeah,
and follow me.
it's wonderful. Mm.
Well, that's what he wants. He wants us to be as he was, to go through what he went through. So that way we-
Understand.
Understanding.
we know exactly what it is that he went through. Because without doing that of our own accord, then what understanding do we have?
So, does this help?
Mm.
Absolutely.
So, what do you think has been happening to all of us in the spiritual realm?
Massive bombardment attack. I've seen it in myself and my family.
So now you've got this. You can see this understanding.
Yeah, how dare we? We're not allowed to have that.
Well, that's
He's
what
gonna
they all
take it.
said.
going to try.
to the disciples, didn't they?
Mm.
Yeah.
Because he left them and he said, wait for me and I'll, send my spirit. The flames came down and all that, and they understood.
Mm.
It's the same as the tabernacle.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Mm.
Mm. Absolutely.
So, but it was in their temples.
Mm. Yeah.
So, when you know all this now, does it change your mind about what's been happening to you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, you can see.
Yeah.
It just makes it clear.
Mm.
Before it was a little bit murky, not sure,
Yeah,
didn't
What's
understand it.
what's this made clear to you?
That everything that's coming against myself, the family, it's all because of what we believe, who we believe in, and who we're choosing to follow.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what's the only way, when you look at the state of your family now, what's the only way that you guys can see that can change them?
The word.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
that's
just
good.
actively applying it.
Just keep bringing them into the word and showing them the right behaviour.
Mm.
What you said the other night about the communication and the body language and everything affected them, I think.
Oh, it definitely affected Joe.
He's I haven't told you yet, he gave a fly to one of his clients today. She asked about the sign on the window and he told her a spiel about we do a praise session and she
Wow.
this, that. Oh, and she was a bit, oh, I like going around different churches. Is this a church? Well, there's a fly there, I'll give you a fly.
Mm,
And what's her
look
name?
at him.
Hillary got one this morning too.
Wow.
That's cool. So I want you to think a bit further. 1 Corinthians.
Love.
Yeah, I want you to think about what you get from his love. Can you put that in words? What his love does to you.
Completely hooks you, puts you on the task he wants you to do, completely lifts you out of every kind of reality and makes you like a junkie. And I'm still lacking in self-control, so I'm in and out. And so when you're out, you just feel
So
like you,
after this understanding,
yeah.
do you think you're going to be lacking in self-control, or you know this story, you know our story?
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to be
No.
lacking from this talk in self-control, or more aware of the enemy?
Very aware, and I face that I'm chosen.
Yeah.
Right.
Haven't even gotten there.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I've got to work and slave for it. No, you're chosen.
Mm.
Why would
Go
you
on.
go through this?
Oh,
So
that's the big thing, knowing you're chosen, really knowing,
Yeah.
and knowing that Yahushua's chosen
Mm.
everyone and everything I know, and he's chosen me, and how much he loves me, and when I feel his love, I just melt.
Mm.
It's just amazing. It's just in awe. You just can't believe really why he loves me so much.
Right.
It just feels overwhelming, you know.
Mm.
So if you're getting zip shots of that love,
Mm.
what's his plan in that? You're going to stay on shots?
No, he wants to completely possess and consume and
He wants to give you his undivided attention and love. That's what he wants.
rivers overflowing.
That's why I'm so into what's going on and what happened and working through you all to bring you to that place where you're going to
Get it?
connect with him and stay in, he says, stay in me, doesn't he?
Stay. Yeah.
Stay in me.
Yeah.
Right, and you're getting shots I want you to explain to me what the shots are. How you feel when you get a shot.
You feel amazing. On top of the world, overjoyed,
Yeah.
completely at peace.
Say your families were subjected to that.
They'd love it. Everyone loves the love.
It's something really different, wouldn't it?
They would.
Mm.
What's this telling you about direction?
That's the way we need to go.
That's what they need.
Compassion for people to think of the state that they're in,
Mm.
that we've been delivered. We have His love, we have the love, and not just to keep it ourselves.
Mm.
Well, can you? If you do that, can you? Are you getting supernatural if you just keep it for yourself?
That's the problem. You keep it for yourself, and you no longer feel like a sinner. You no longer feel like a dirty slave. You no longer feel all these things because you're totally intoxicated in His love. And then after a while, you start to keep it for yourself, and you feel invincible, and you can do no wrong. And then you might just start doing what you want to do, and it disappears.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to be really
So
careful.
what's He saying to us through this?
My love is not just for you.
Mm.
What's He saying? That's good. That's true. What's He saying?
If you want more, you've got to give it out.
Let your light shine.
To
So
keep
what's the
my love
enemy
shared.
been doing
Putting
to you all
heavy
about
on
that?
that you don't have it, you can't
What?
do it, you're not worthy.
Yeah, sowing seeds of doubt.
You realise now, tonight, you're chosen, you can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
That's from Yahusha.
Yeah.
You too. And the love.
Yeah.
So, what does He want you to do now, from now on?
Be aware of the room. Be aware of the people. Drink. Have me.
He doesn't want you to do anything really, but take in that love and get used to it.
Yeah.
Mm.
You don't have to do anything else, say anything else, but just think of being filled, completely filled
Yeah.
with His love in you, in your vessel.
Mm.
Then what's His plan for you?
When you get strong in that, and
Do you have to get strong in it?
yes, because you have to be obedient. If you be disobedient, you're not going to be in that. You lose Him.
Yeah, okay, well,
You have
that's
to
good.
have the self-control.
But
Yeah.
now you know, self-control's there. Now you know, you're understanding what He's saying to you.
Mm.
I'm trying to lead you to a place. Is it hard to understand me?
Oh.
No.
Well, if I say the word manifest, what does that do to this conversation we've had?
He wants us to manifest His behaviours.
Yes.
To show the love. Show
Yeah,
it
it's getting
outwardly.
closer.
To share and to show the love, to explain. You don't have to explain it if you have it. Consider and
What does
Concern.
manifest mean?
To reveal something. To take something spiritual and turn it into something physical. It's the only way it's going to be seen if we manifest it, show it, reveal it, behave it.
But first you have to.
You have it.
feel like
Feel
yours.
So it's nothing that we do for Him to do that to us, as you can see in the chosen.
Yeah.
How do they all feel about Him?
Oh, just
Amazing.
in love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they would argue or anything, what would happen to them?
They
They
feel
terrible.
bad. Feel
You can
bad
see that, can't you?
until He comes back and lifts them up. Yeah.
Okay,
Mm.
so we're thinking of the 1 Corinthians chapter, which is called
Love.
Patient, kind,
Mm.
doesn't keep a record of wrongs.
So, tell me what you think he's wanting you individually to do.
When you've got a firm hold of his love, you're not worried about how things are going to play out. You're not
How do
worried.
you get that?
You've got it. You believe it. You enter into it and you have it. You don't have to whip yourself like a Catholic to get it. No, you've just got it. You just believe it.
So who can take? No
No
one can separate.
No one can separate me from you, unless I believe I have been. It's my belief.
So you think of your carcass in the morning, getting ready,
Yeah.
and you have a communication happening, and you go to work.
Mm.
What does he want you to show in your vessel?
Just be until he tells you to do something. Don't have to prove it. Don't have to make excuses for it.
He wants to show
Where do you see the love in someone that's got
Eyes.
Say
Someone's
they're happy.
in
eyes.
the eyes? Yeah, happy. So what does he want you inside to do so he can come
Through.
What does he want you to do?
He wants you to give over everything.
Yeah.
Surrender.
Just give him everything.
See, you're a Therese,
Mm.
you're a Mark, you're a Victor. What does he want you to show them?
Him.
That's it.
It's not our love. It's him.
So he wants us to
Pull out there.
Manifest
Step
him.
aside.
step aside, inside, and let him
Reach them.
show himself to others in your
Behaviour. Flesh.
Vessel.
vessel.
That's all. Yeah.
That's how he wants to use your vessels.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
What do you think of that?
Wow.
That's miraculous and
Fantastic.
supernatural.
Amazing.
Mm.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Mm.
That's all we have to get to.
Yeah.
Where we're willing
Mm.
to let him have us in a day when you go and greet a client. He's got a plan
Mm.
if you're open to it.
Mm.
That's
He's
not
talking
difficult,
to you.
Really, is it?
No.
You feel
Well, what happened to you?
I
Why wouldn't you ever go there?
just stopped, blocked,
No, because you didn't know this, did you?
didn't know.
Didn't know this then.
No.
We hadn't entered into all
Aware.
this. So you have an experience now
Mm.
of what you did, and now that you know this, how you can,
Leave.
just a matter of stepping aside and let him show himself through your eyes
Mm.
to others. What are they going to feel? What happened? What did the people see on the show?
Woozy.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's when you're looking at people, it's through your eyes they
Mm.
see the love.
And your behaviour,
Yeah.
your voice, and the words you choose.
Yeah.
The eye is the lamp of the body.
There you are.
Mm. Wow, that's amazing.
Isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
I mean, there's so many things to consider in scripture and all that, but when it all comes down to it, this is the main thing, and this is so much better just to be able to package it all into one thing.
That's amazing, man. Oh, that's because it ties in with everything. When there's love, gifts fade away, prophecies fade away, sermons and music and whatnot and everything is happening, but it's not a priority. It's in the background.
Nothing's
It's
a
love.
priority but that.
Exactly. It's
And then
love.
everything's it's not a problem.
No.
That's what the
You're actually doing
the
it.
whole world's looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys are on the verge of having it. What's in the way?
Yeah. Belief.
I don't think the self's in the way.
I think it's the attacks
Yeah.
that are in the way.
They don't want you guys
To know
to
this,
achieve it.
to have it.
Don't want us to be happy and satisfied and peaceful in the day.
What do you know about me?
You have it.
You have
share
that.
You're explaining it, so
You enjoy
you're waiting.
it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Just being in that place.
Mm.
Wow.
You can all have it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fabulous.
But it's got to be what he wants, his will.
Yeah.
If we go interfere and want to claim something for ourselves,
Oh, it dies. The feeling dies.
not going to work.
Mm.
Absolutely.
You know all the attacks, the doors that have been opened for them to come into your being and vessel.
Yep.
So all those doors need to be closed by
Me.
the power of the
Spirit.
Word. Say nut, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So that's what's come since the sheep.
Mm.
And I wanted to share it with
It's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's the only direction to have love. Love
Get
to-
rid of anything that's a heavy weight.
Mm.
That's what he says. The
Throw it
scripture.
off and run.
Throw all your burdens on me.
Mm.
Huh?
Yeah.
Why don't we see it and do it?
Yeah. Amazing.
There's no competition
No.
to who's the best, who got there. It's just everyone, he wants everyone to come through.
Mm. Mm.
We can celebrate in it
Mm.
when something happens.
Yeah.
Like what Joe did today. How do your hearts feel about that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Let's face it, couldn't see him doing that a week ago.
So it'll be interesting starting with John,
Mm.
won't it?
Yeah.
Therese starts and finishes the week,
Mm.
and the other three have got a day each.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Don't hold back with your comments,
No.
especially now that you know all this.
Mm.
So that was all through you, so much of that happened,
Mm.
because they couldn't stand the fact that you were teaching them.
Mm.
That's why they're all sitting there like that. So Yahusha's what?
Lifted me up.
Mm.
So you have to know what he's doing with you,
Mm.
how he's using you.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait for him to lift you up.
How, back to the love, do you think you're going to be now with the situations he gives you every day?
Aware. Ready.
You know the battle.
We'll be tested.
What does he want to do through you?
Flow and love through me.
Show the love.
Love.
So, what sort of person do you think? Would that be a change in you to experience that?
Mm.
So, can you see what Satan's not wanted you to know
Mm.
or have?
Mm.
It's at you so much.
Yeah.
And your family.
Mm.
I've wanted you to have all these experiences,
Mm.
go through these traumas,
Mm.
so you know
The difference.
the difference.
Mm.
What he is and how Yahusha is.
Mm.
So you know the mongrel just wants to stop you and ruin everything.
Mm.
You guys have got to be aware Not worry about him, not have other thoughts, but just what Yahusha, how he wants to come out of you at them.
Mm.
Would that be a big change for you to be in that place?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think of that?
That would be miraculous. That
From
would
what
be
you've
very
been
effective.
experiencing?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
one do you want?
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's up to you to.
Choose it in every situation.
And that's what he's getting us all to make up our mind about him and his plan. He just came and did all that in 3.5 years.
Mm.
That was quick.
Amazing.
That was so quick.
And we're still learning the story of it.
Yeah. Still get stuff out of it.
What did he
Yeah.
say about books? About all the things he did while he was here and through.
Oh, there wouldn't be enough books written.
That's right.
Yeah. Those 4 guys could only write so much.
Well, they were chosen to give us enough information to enter into what they had experienced.
Yeah.
And they're all dead. And the
Mm.
whole movement stopped.
Mm.
And yet here we are finding this out now. What do you think he wants us to do about it?
Keep going.
Now you saw your kids in the beginning in that video.
Mm.
You've seen what's happened to them.
Oh, yeah.
Now you can
So-
see a resurgence coming in
Mm.
them.
Yeah.
So what do we have to recognize about Yahusha to manifest? There's what? J-O, one letter near the end of the alphabet.
Joy.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's a joyous thing is where you're staying that way
Mm.
and people can't throw things at you to knock you down because you can receive it and have joy about it, enjoy it,
Yeah.
the play.
Mm.
So the joy needs to come into our fellowship.
Mm.
Joy, happiness.
Mm.
It's what?
Absolutely.
What are you laughing at?
Oh, I just thought I was there for a minute.
Where?
Joy.
In the meeting with Joy.
Right,
Didn't
yeah.
recognise it.
Well, that's it.
Where am I?
Why are you going to? You know the way in. You
Yeah.
know the shadow teaching.
Yeah.
You know the fullness of it,
Yeah.
fruition of it.
Mm.
How can you not be joyous? And
Okay.
he's there.
Mm.
The guy you're seeing, in chosen, but
Mm.
different,
Yeah.
fuller
Mm.
than that.
Yeah.
He can't act the fullness of Yahusha because he hasn't got the
Spirit. Oh, he's a Catholic.
sameness of everyone.
Mm.
But if you're all in the same joy,
Very powerful.
joy needs to come into your family
Mm.
and they need to know how to ward it off.
Mm.
And that he wants to manifest that love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control.
Mm.
All those.
Yeah.
Humility.
Yeah.
So that's the concept. I think
Hallelujah.
this is supernatural.
Of course it is.
It's coming from Yahusha
Mm.
to you guys
Yeah.
and us to do it.
Mm.
Amazing. Some wonderful direction.
You've got it all down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People need to know it. Mm.
Well, that's your first
Mm.
thought.
Mm. They will. Yeah.
Okay.
Work it out.
You got your instruction.
Mm.
But first of all, you have to
Apply it yourself.
achieve
Achieve it yourself.
Achieve it yourself
Mm.
by fighting it off,
Mm.
overcoming it.
Yeah.
It means it's gone, resist him and he'll go.
Yeah.
So you're defeating him.
Mm.
He's not defeating, and you can see all the ways he's been at you guys to defeat you.
Oh, yeah.
You've just been so hurt and upset and worried and blah, 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 and they've got you two fighting and all them fighting, you know? But you have to kick it out of your home, out of your lives.
Yeah.
So you've got the joy. As you said, you know now that you are.
Chosen.
So what can you do about it? You just throw that in his face
Nothing.
because you believe it. And Victor said it's a hard thing to actually come to that place and believe that I'm chosen.
Yeah.
You've got to make up your mind, haven't you? Literally.
Yeah.
So you've got enough stuff now to know, to make up your minds what you want to do about it.
Yeah.
And you can have it.
Wow. Fullness of joy.
This is everything I wanted to know and hear and to be.
Well, it's all in the Word, isn't it? We can
Yeah.
see what we're talking about,
Yeah.
watching the Chosen, all this. It's all in the Word. But it's abstract, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not what religion is teaching.
No.
You find it in the abstract. And the television shows are all copying off what Yahushua's written, how he's written it. Goes into the past and now and in the future in one sentence. You're going, what?
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh, goosey
They're
did.
not jumping around
Yeah.
time frame.
Time traveling.
Yeah. So you've got what he's saying to us, and you just look, oh, that section belongs there, that section belongs there, and that's there. In the abstract, I can see what he's saying in one sentence from the Spirit
Amazing.
that's in you.
Yeah.
Changed heart, new spirit. So he wants us to feel mighty good, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Wants us to love him.
that's it.
Have his love flow through us, and that's just amazing, knowing whatever comes at you,
Yeah.
you can handle it, because the Word says, give all your battles to me and I'll fight them. And that's what we're doing now at the meeting. We're praying for things to happen.
Yeah.
Did we expect it to be this quick?
No.
No.
No. Not at all.
And whatever you're going to say or do, it's a sword and it's going to hurt, but you're going to know there'll something come through if you just have the strength and the trust to say what he tells you. It's pretty bizarre
Yeah.
and way out.
Mm.
Look at his mind, how he showed the Jews all the things they're doing and tricking and using it all. I don't want you guys anymore, not in that mindset.
No.
If you want this, you've got to come through and grow.
Yeah. Amazing. Completely miraculous, mate.
Isn't it? Well, we're in that. It's not ours.
No.
We're allowed to partake of it.
Mm.
And that's all you have to know. Oh yeah, I know where I got that book from.
Yeah.
If you go around saying that to people, they're going to think you're mad, aren't they?
Yeah.
So he doesn't want us to do that, does he? That's Christian.
Yeah.
He just wants us to do it.
That's it. Exactly right.
Do it.
Do it.
Experience him. It's supernatural. It's not meant to be natural. Nature's supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at them trying to, you saw the Avatar, they're trying to create what he did, but it doesn't work.
No.
It's not like a real animal.
No.
Those bloody little things that land on trees and they just fly in the air. And the colours of them. Who's that clever? Some of them, they go and eat clay because they need it in the diet because of the things they all fly to this mountain of clay, and they're all eating this clay, these parrots. Seen them?
No.
Because they have to have something else in their system because of what they're eating. Man's discovered that. watching it with cameras and everything and figuring it out. But he's done it
Mm.
well before they've found out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're claiming it.
Yeah.
No. So if it's not going to be like it is here, what's eternity going to be like? What would that be? Our minds can't even think of how marvellous it is. And this is totally marvellous.
Mm.
If you just look in the spirit, what he's done
Yeah.
of creation.
Yep.
But what's that going to be?
It's going to be completely new.
Mind blowing.
You want to finish with that now? Or
Yeah,
run
good.
out?
Hallelujah.
Take me home, I know